Hello and welcome to BeanPod, the writing and entertainment podcast. I'm Kirsty.
I'm Liam.
And I'm Natalie.
Today's episode we're talking about time travel. Time travel in fiction, the origins of it and where we stand with it today. Then we will also get lost in what we would do if we could travel in time, which will hopefully be fun. Then we will have our writing challenge, where we take a character from one time and put them in another, because why not? And of course, we have our regular features, the news story we have been Googling, and 5-minute Faff, and finally, our ever expected pod challenge.
Yuck.
Yeah.
I'm due revenge on that one, apparently.
Yes,
very
much.
definitely.
So, time travel in fiction was popularised by H.G. Wells with Time Machine. At which point I'm not going to look at Nat, because I'm pretty sure she's the only one who's read it.
I can't believe I'm the only one who's read it. Thing is, I read it quite a while ago, so I will explain it as best I can. Basically, it's about a guy who invents a time machine. He takes a ride in it and ends up in a different time where there are these creatures called Eli, and they're almost childlike in their existence. They're very simple beings, and they sort of adopt him into their group and teach him how they run things. But there is this fear that they have of the creatures that live below ground, these white, hideous, scary things called Morlocks. And but basically, it's just an adventure about their land, how it in the future, and that's how the world has changed then incredibly drastically by H.G. Wells' standard. But and he also ends up seeing a bit of the world when it ends. He gets snippets of other bits as well, so it's actually quite dark, the whole angle of it. There's a lot of this is what could happen, and it's not all going to be good. There's always a dark side to everything going on, but it's very intriguing. And the whole time you've got the whole time in his present, in this character's present, he has people at his house, guests that he invited over, that he is meant to be returning to prove what he has done. And they are waiting patiently to see if he will return.
I've seen a movie version of this book.
Don't ever watch a movie version. Read the book. It's one of those things
where it was on a sci-fi channel somewhere,
because
and it was
unfortunately, on TV. The movie versions, they romanticize it, and they put loads of things in it that they ruin the concept of it. The whole idea is it's a thought exercise. It's a writing exercise. It's like what we do. It's a writing exercise in what if this character had a time machine and could go anywhere in time. That's what it is. And if they went to that time, what would they find? And because he went into the future, it meant that H.G. Wells could do whatever the hell he liked, and he did. And that was the world he came up with. That was the future in his
academic.
Yeah, it's academic. Else. Yes, it's just playing around with it. It's playing around with characters, playing around with ideas, and what the films do and stuff like that. They completely meddle with it, and the concepts that H.G. Wells raises up really catches your attention. You want to read on. You want to find out why the Eli live like they do, and why they're scared of the Morlock, and why the Morlock why you need to watch out for them, and why they're so scary. And you want to look further. But then you got the blunt reality of the fact that in the future things will come to an end at some point.
It's very easy to go dark when writing about time travel.
It is. Yeah, it is.
It's one of those things with time travel, ultimately, though, because the problem with time travel, you're always going to have some sort of butterfly effect.
Yes.
Now, for me, when they have time travel, you have the person arriving, and they're always told, don't meddle with it because it will affect the future. Yeah. Now, to me, being there anyway affects the future or the past, because mostly the future, because you going there, you might have, I don't know, a gust of wind that goes slightly the wrong direction. This then tilts something over, and then a person will divert slightly, and that changes everything at that point. So when it comes to time travel, it's easy to go dark because ultimately you are changing everything with one step.
But you could easily
what
say
theory you run on with time travel.
You could easily say that what H.G. Wells' character does by traveling in time, by trying to influence the Eli and trying to show them some of the things he knows that they have lost over the years, that may be why when he travelled again he discovered the end of the world. You never know. There could be a butterfly effect there. There are so many things there that you can't. There's so many concepts and things that are hidden in the writing.
Influencing the future and influencing the past are two quite different things, because the future, if you're coming from the past to the future, it's not probably as dramatic as if you're going to your own past.
Yes.
And then you could quite easily completely ruin the world that you've come from.
Yeah.
Whereas the world, if you go into the future and mess with things, you're not ruining the world you've come from. You can't affect it in that direction. Yeah. So it's a theory that depends which way you're travelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you have things like the bootstrap paradox, don't you? Which was recently brought up in Doctor Who, which we'll go on to in a minute.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get there.
Where they have an event that happens, but something had to have triggered it, but you don't know what has triggered it, and there is a certain event that has to happen, but then has been altered by the end. But how have they got to that point? Because they're in an infinite loop, technically. And it's the whole, can you lift yourself up by pulling your own bootstraps sort of thing. Well, you have to do something like that. How did they do that to begin with, and how has it ultimately come to an end here?
Yeah.
I think as a plot device, it's done sort of okay in certain films, and some they really get it wrong. One that springs to mind for me is Looper, Rian Johnson film, stars Bruce Willis and
keep meaning to watch that.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah. Now, it's a really good film. It's a really good concept, and it's the theory that they send criminals back in time, and
why on earth would you do that?
Because it's taken over by criminal gangs. So they send their enemies back in time, and these people go to a certain point, they wait with their clock, the person appears, and they shoot them.
You're trusting criminals to do what they're supposed to?
Because they're paid, on the backs of these people are bars of gold. So they then cash those in, and that's their wage.
Right.
Now, they then get to a point where they have to retire. They will have about 50 bars of gold on the back of their older selves. So they've ultimately got to shoot their older selves. They then realise, okay, I've now got 30 years to live. So they then live. And what the criminal gangs do is at the third day, reset everything. Now, the whole basis of the story is that when it comes to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, which is Bruce Willis, Bruce Willis escapes, and then it starts altering timelines and things like that. Now, there are different ways around it that they try and fix it, but when it comes to the ending, they sort of mess it up. Now, I don't want to spoil it for you because you haven't watched it yet.
Neither have I.
But they sort of...
Spoil away, it's fine.
Well...
I'll watch it at some point.
Okay, so...
You don't want it spoiled?
Preferably not.
Okay, so the ending that they choose doesn't fit, because the way they've done it, you then say, well, why didn't this happen? And why didn't this happen? And why didn't this happen? And when you have that, ultimately you've got it wrong. Whereas in something like 12 Monkeys, again, Bruce Willis, he likes his time travel films, apparently.
It would seem.
Yeah. They get that right because it fits in a cycle. And ultimately, that's how the ending comes about. Because it's basically a doom cycle. It's going to happen, and it happens. So it does fit. Now, when we've gone on to this in our radio play as well.
Yes.
Now, the way we got around we got around it is that we already had the timeline established before we did the time travel. And therefore the plot was to maintain the timeline rather than changing it. So, and that's one way around it. If you maintain a timeline,
of course you can also then go with the plot of, I'm trying to make sure things don't go wrong by going back in time to make sure they go right. Is inevitably probably going to go wrong if you're using that as your main
I'm actually also thinking of the one that a lot of people have seen, Butterfly Effect. And how many different variations of endings did they have on that? They had a few, didn't they?
There were several deleted endings on the DVD.
I think I may have seen 2 versions.
I think there's the European version, which, spoiler alert, he goes back as the unborn child and garrots himself, which is, grim. The American one, the American one, he's born, but he rejects the main female lead when she's a child. He doesn't become her friend, so that ultimately they don't sort of become friends, and none of the nasty stuff happens to her or her brother. And she walks past him. He knows who she is, but she doesn't know who he is. And that's the American version. That was an interesting film in that because they kept trying to change things, it altered. And then there was the plot point. Again, spoilers, but, it's a 15-year-old film. Get with it.
You must have at least heard of this by now.
There's a point where his arms get blown off. And he can't write from beyond that 15-year-old, so he can only go back to the 7-year-old version. And then that becomes altered, so then he only has one option, ultimately. And it's...
He pens himself into a corner.
Which is another way of doing it, which I thought was quite clever. I did quite...
Clever. Grim, but clever.
The European... We get all the horrible endings.
We do, but we're quite grim, really, over here, aren't we?
I think it's less that we're grim, it's more the fact that people don't think American audiences will cope.
I suppose. I don't know.
Sometimes they don't... I mean,
don't know.
They changed other things like I Am Legend and...
there's ridiculous things like with Lord of the Rings, there was a head on a pike somewhere, and for the American release they had to CGI a helmet over it, so it's a helmet on a pike.
Really?
Yes. If you listen to the director commentary, that's what they said they had to do.
Even if it had a helmet on it, there's a head there. That's how things work.
Yeah, but it was a fairly graphic kind of head with tongue lolling out.
Is this possibly anything to do with the fact that
helmet over there?
Europe seems to have a bit more history. And we have the gruesome history of that.
I've heard of scalpings.
A lot of what they do is, what would happen if this happened? And what would happen?
It's the what ifs.
It's the what ifs that they get the most excitement out of.
They technically do that in any film that they go back historically and they just change things. Even if the film has no time travel in it, they basically, the directors are time traveling by kind of going, we're just going to alter time to this is how we'd like it to work.
I think there was a Michael Crichton book called Timeline. I think it starred Paul Walker and Billy Connolly, which should tell you everything. But that was an interesting one. Because they go back into French Revolutionary history and then they become part of the history, and it alters it slightly but not enough for it to damage the timeline. But they do invent Greek fire, which nobody knows how to do, so creative license and all that.
Yes.
So what other time travel things do we have?
Well, I suppose the big one is Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, there is a little one, actually, I have to mention, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It happens in a weird way. It's like alternative universe time travelling.
It's not strictly time travel.
No, it's very, very weird.
Somehow everything's back.
Yeah, because they travel through space and somehow space and time and then
they've undone the previous.
Basically, humans aren't apes. That's the gist of it, isn't it?
It's very odd.
Yeah.
I think we'd take up the rest of the episode if we tried to actually explain what was going
listen
on.
to the radio play, read the book or whatever, but it's the whole concept. It's fantastic. But basically, what we all thought is not true.
While we're still talking about time travel as a plot device, I think we should probably mention Harry Potter, the magical world, and the time turners that they have. because they're obviously a big
Nifty
part in the
devices.
third one.
Yes.
The Prisoner of Azkaban, because Hermione's obviously skipping time the entire year. Which I just like to point out, she skipped time back to go to class, but is so sleep deprived because her days are so long, but doesn't think about sending herself back in time to get more sleep.
No.
Which is just
Hermione.
That's
fantastic.
Hermione, isn't it? That's Hermione.
I thought I just had to have that little gratitude.
Yeah.
That's misuse of time travel, frankly, in
she
my
probably
opinion.
had some clause, because didn't McGonagall have to try hard to get hold of
I
that
think she had
anyway?
to sign something saying she'd only use it for studying.
Yeah.
And
Like, what
surely-
about sleep?
yeah, we'll not go into that.
Yeah.
But more I was going to say is they use it to get around the whole end of the third book.
Yes.
And then J.K. Rowling clearly had a thought of, oh my goodness, I've got these things called time turners. What if they were to just... Surely that would be a massive plot hole if they just could go back in time and stop any of this ever actually happening. So there's a little sideline in at the end of the fifth book where they're in the Ministry of Magic, where they smash a big cabinet that continues to smash itself repeatedly, which is the entire stock of time turners gone. Which is a very nifty way of, whoops, we smashed all of our ability to time travel. We can't do it anymore. Oh dear.
Yes, we can't go back and change anything anymore.
Yes, we've removed the temptation of time travel as a way to sort of solve all the problems, which is a very good way of... Time travel would be great in this book. Oh dear, it's going to cause me all manner of problems in the next book. Let's just get rid of that.
Yes.
If that's not time travel as a plot device, I don't know what is.
Well, I suppose if you're looking at plot devices, it's the one that's the most famous for the UK is Doctor Who, and it's the whole point of him is travelling back in time or forward in time anywhere in the universe. Now, originally when it was William Hartnell, they would have one historical episode and then they would have one scientific episode, and it's gradually grown and grown and grown.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's been going for 50 years. They're starting to get a few plot holes. And he's meant to have been in all these places, and then they forget about this, 10 years later, that he's been to this place. I think one of the biggest ones was Christopher Eccleston's character mentions that he's clinging on to the Titanic at one point. So any time something that remotely looks like the Titanic turns up, everyone gets excited and thinks Christopher Eccleston is going to turn up, but he never does. So
yes. Although, as they have then subsequently proved, there was then the Starship Titanic, there's obviously the real Titanic. We're assuming there's several different Titanics at any point during the time stream. So, yes, I have been dubbed the plot hole finder of this group. I'm also very good at stitching them back up again and talking my way around them.
Which is how we worked out our episode.
Yes.
Sat down.
I just keep talking until I work out a solution.
Yeah, then we go, yes, that's the one.
Somebody write down what I just said, because I don't remember where I started. It's normally what happens.
Yeah.
I suppose we should probably mention Back to the Future briefly.
Back to the Future, yes.
We can't really skip down, particularly since we've only recently had Back to the Future Day.
Yes.
Which bears talking about in the grounds of the future doesn't look like it was supposed to.
No.
We are in the future now.
Well, technically, they got some of it right.
There's some stuff, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole Skyping thing, that's on there.
That's on there.
Yeah.
Which
it was a little ambitious, but...
I don't know, that was in, they've been coming up with that for years and years and years.
Have.
It's in, Thunderbirds do it. Video calling has been a sci-fi thing for a very long time. So
but now sci-fi is reality.
Yes.
So it's no longer science
fiction. There's all the things like the
hoverboards
and stuff like that.
Oh, they've attempted hoverboards. They don't really work.
Flying cars.
I'd quite like a flying car. It would definitely sort out my traffic problems getting to work.
The problem is, then you have to look up when you're driving as well.
3D driving.
It would become equipped with some kind of radar.
Yeah, but you already get enough annoying people cutting you up on the road.
Yeah.
You don't need that stuff in the sky as well. They're driving upwards and going, oh, for goodness sake.
Imagine the accidents. Just
but you'd have a lot more room, so you're not everybody on the same bit of road.
Yeah, but when the accidents happen, I mean...
Oh yeah, the accidents would be bad, but they'd probably actually be fewer.
But then what would happen if you crashed in the sky? Would you fall down?
Yeah, probably. Just
which is, even worse, because then you're landing on cars. So they haven't really thought this through.
You'll almost definitely die.
Landing on cars.
Well, yeah, if you're going above the road.
Yeah, but if everyone's above the road, then
Yeah,
there won't
we're
be a need
assuming
for
all
roads.
cars are flying at this point.
Yeah.
You don't have to. If you're flying, you don't have to follow the road. You can fly wherever you like.
Well, all right, you might crash into the flipping sea.
There would probably have to be rules.
Yeah, there would be no fly areas. There would be some sort of rules to come up with it. But they had a long time. They've had, how many years since
for
the
planes.
30 years. It takes a lot longer than 30 years to make a flying car.
Clearly. It's because we haven't got one yet.
But in 30 years, they could have come up with some sort of rules of the road for the sky.
Yeah, but Nike are doing the self-tying shoes now.
I still don't get
understand
how that
the
works.
point of a self-tying shoe.
Well, you put it in, and then it just grips itself around your foot.
Oh, so you might as well just use Velcro.
Smart elastic, basically.
Yeah, smart elastic.
I don't see the point.
No, that's pointless.
No, they're doing it purely to cash in on Back to the Future.
It's a gimmick.
Yeah, it's a gimmick.
Clearly.
Well,
Yes, but Back to the Future. Getting back to the future.
yes.
Yeah, well, I like. I mean, they come on TV so often, but they are fantastic, aren't they? I mean, they're
I'm
the
not
sort of
convinced
thing.
I've ever actually managed to watch it start to finish in
I don't
one
think
go.
I've ever watched one start to finish in one go,
We
but I
did
have
that.
seen all of them at some point. Even if it's been like half at a time or something, they're on often enough that you've seen them and you know what's going to happen.
Seen
but,
enough of them.
Yeah, but they are very good.
But we have done that. One of my friends did a Back to the Future back-to-back thing. He's also done Lord of the Rings, but that was a slog. But Back to the
I've got the
Future is
extended
quite short. And you sort of learn that ultimately the three films, I think, take place in about a 3-day span.
Really?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, you've got Marty goes back to the future, and then Emmett comes to him and says, "Your kids, you have to come with me." So they go to the future, and then they go. Then he's stuck in 1955, but then he comes back to find his girlfriend that they left in Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
And then they drive and miss that accident.
Yeah.
Which is all, well, technically, then that's almost like 2 days.
Yeah.
So, the whole thing.
Yeah, because every single time
They go
they're
back
like,
to
we'll go back. We'll
1985.
take you back to the right time. We'll take you back to the right time every single time. Yeah. It's like, it's okay. No one will notice. We'll take you straight back.
They use that argument a lot in time travel things. We'll take you right back to the instant you were there.
Yeah.
It's fine. Hardly ever goes right.
No, doesn't.
It goes wrong an awful lot in Doctor Who.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the point of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
It doesn't land where you want it. It lands where it's needed.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think that's what they were describing.
Well, the fact that the TARDIS takes Rose back to where she was on precisely the right day a year later. That was less useful.
Yes, it was.
The TARDIS has its own personality. It has its own way of working, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's its own person.
It chose the Doctor. The Doctor didn't choose it.
Yes.
I believe is the. Although
Although
Moffat tried
if you
to
imply that Clara, in fact, pointed out which TARDIS to steal.
Yeah, wasn't a fan of that. Moffat.
Bearing in mind, you've already had it quite recently the episode where the TARDIS kind of, of course you will, I stole you. And then you kind of went, you want this one? You've kind of undermined your own argument.
Yeah,
this is under your stewardship.
Yeah, exactly.
Both. It's not like it's a previous person who's done this, it's you.
Perhaps if he actually used some time travel, he might be able to, see what he's written before. Or, maybe open a folder once in a while.
Do we really want to be trusting, somebody who can't remember what they've written like 2 years ago with a time machine?
Maybe not. It's like, did I land here? I might have landed here. Turns out, I definitely landed here. We're about to be killed.
Oops. It's like, I know why I'm not here now because I left the first time because I'd angered all the locals. Whoops.
Oh, wait, we're back.
Yes. So moving on to the second section, the question is, what would we do if we could time travel? Where would we go?
Yeah, I'm boring. I can't even think of where I go. I just do a H.G. Wells thing. I would
time joyride.
I just joyride around time, just
That's
checking
actually
things
a
out.
fairly appealing plan, to be honest.
Yeah, there's no specific time I'd want to go to. I just want to check things out. Be a bit of a time tourist.
I think Liam's got some slightly more specific places he wants to go.
Yeah, I would probably one of my favourite places I've visited over the last couple of years is the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. And I've always been fascinated by that Olympics, mainly because of Jesse Owens beating all the Nazis. I do believe there's a film called Race coming out, and that's based on the 36 Olympics, and it's a massive stadium, and it's
Just remember, I was like, when you mentioned it earlier, I was like, where else have I read about Jesse Owens? And it's in The Book Thief. That's what it was.
That'll do it.
Yes. That makes sense. And on a slightly more funny note, is going back to the 1990s. Doesn't seem like very far, but it's to stop George Lucas writing the Star Wars prequels and making him write correct versions that aren't terrible. But, you know, everyone says, oh, I'd go back to ancient Greece. It's like, why? You wouldn't be able to understand what the hell they're saying for a start.
No.
Only if I was going in TARDIS with the translation matrix happening.
Yeah,
or Babelfish, one or the other.
Yeah, Babelfish should also work.
Yeah, but we don't have them. We have a time machine.
Is nobody quantified what kind of time machine?
Well, yeah, but if you said TARDIS, then I'd go anywhere, because everyone's going to speak in English. And, you know,
well,
slang,
you
preferably.
Think they're speaking in English.
Yeah. I think one thing I can... I'm a historian. I'd like to go pretty much everywhere.
As long as it's in the past.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure I'd want to see the future. I'm not sure I'd want to go there.
No.
I think I would just go backwards.
It's kind of scary, the idea of looking at the future.
Yeah, I would go and observe the past. I don't think I would actually want to go forwards.
No.
You know, I'd go and see what the court of Elizabeth I was like and
but
and yell
at the same
at the
time,
Council of Nicaea.
if you went to the future, like we were talking about the butterfly effect and everything, do you think it would influence what you do if you knew what happened in the future? Even if you didn't know what happened to you, do you think it would influence what you did?
I still don't think I'd want to know.
No.
That's the ultimate thing. Would you go to the day that you died? I mean, you wouldn't know, but would you end up following yourself and finding out what day you died?
Yeah.
And thinking,
and for the rest of your life, you work up to not dying on that day.
But then,
maybe
you then create a paradox because you're watching your life. You then alter what's going to happen, so you can't have gone to that point in the future to see yourself do that because you're not there anymore. So you know, paradox everywhere.
Yes.
Paradoxes are the downside of time travel in fiction.
Another thing with the time travel though, there was that it's the old video where they reckon there's a woman who time travelled or something. It's a really old black and white.
Oh, is that the one where they think she has a phone?
Yeah, because she's like this, and they reckon she's got a phone. Like, is she a time traveller?
That would be cool.
We can't miss that. We can't. That is.
There are a lot of things like that where they pointed out like there's this photograph here.
I'll put a link to it on the video on the
you see several things where there's like I found a mummy that looks like it's wearing Nike trainers or something. It's like I'm pretty sure that's just some shoes that look vaguely shaped like trainers, but
with a vaguely shaped Nike tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could it's not exactly the most. Delicate of symbols.
No.
It's not the most damning of evidence either, is it?
No.
It's one of those when people are always finding those. Yeah. I think going back to while we're talking about pictures that prove time travel, there's a fantastic picture of the Beatles. A Beatles recording session, which everybody puts next to the clip of Matt Smith's Doctor. I still have plenty of time. I can go join the Beatles because there's a guy sat on a sofa, leaning back and looking over his shoulder, who looks just like Matt Smith in this recording studio. And it's just like, did he? I'm suddenly wondering. There's this picture. It's like this is the Beatles. That's like it's a very early jam session for the Beatles, and this guy just looking over his shoulder. It looks exactly like Matt Smith, and it's like
that's really cool.
That's quite good. I like that one.
You also have Brian Cox. Also went through. He did a special back on the Doctor Who 50th anniversary, and he was going through different parts of time travel. So you had things like you are actually a time traveller if you're up in space because you move slightly quicker, I believe. I don't know, we'd need to ask Tim Peake or someone.
Yeah, you are moving faster.
If you're moving faster, then when you come back down to Earth, you've actually aged a few seconds, But if you're up there for a whole year, I think you age a couple of minutes. So you've actually time travelled yourself 2 minutes further into the future in a weird roundabout way, which, you know, is nice. It's nice of him to try and make everyone feel happy.
Yeah, if you went round and round the planet fast enough, you would travel.
Oh, don't talk about that, Superman.
Yeah, I know. I've the book I've got on it. It explains all about time travel and wormholes and things like that. How they work.
The science gets very, very complicated.
Yes, very interesting, but complicated.
Mind bending.
Yes,
at the least.
Yes.
Yes. I'm trying to think of where else I would want to go if I could travel in time.
Didn't you say? What was it?
I'd quite like to go and shout at the people at the Council of Nicaea and tell them off for causing such trouble. But that would probably cause quite a lot of problems in the timeline, so probably a bad idea.
They probably wouldn't know what you were saying either.
I could learn Latin before I went.
If you can time travel, you can spare time for that.
Yeah, if I've got a time machine, I can go learn Latin and then...
You're going to learn all the swear words before...
Yeah. Latin's not that difficult.
Well, no, you can go up and say, I bite my thumb at you lot, I suppose.
Or do you have any idea of all the trouble you're about to cause?
Thanks, guys.
Yes. Oh, do you mind if I do an edit run? Or something of that kind. I'm probably getting myself in trouble at this point.
Lads, stand back. I've got a brilliant idea.
Yes. Probably get myself killed for doing it, but, you know.
Or burned.
Yeah, I probably not be allowed in there on the grounds of being a woman as well, to be honest.
I was just thinking that.
I can cross-dress, it's fine.
Just imagining you in a fake tash.
Sorry about that.
Oh, Natalie, I hope you put a picture on there with a fake tash.
Oh dear, I'm going to do that. I'm going to Photoshop my stash now. Brilliant.
There we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Okie dokie. Me with a mustache. Fantastic. Yeah, you put me off now. Right, I can't think of anywhere else I'd want to go. Anybody else got any ideas where they'd want to go?
No.
Right, so, what method of time travel, if we could pick our method of time travel, what would we have?
I mean, the TARDIS,
the
is
TARDIS
so fun, isn't it?
fairly obvious.
It's such a fun way to travel.
It's sort of... I suppose that would be my method, because it's one of the few that I know. I mean, the one in Looper is just a giant tin can that they go into, and you're wrapped in like a straitjacket. And I'm like, that doesn't look like fun.
No.
And then you just appear. And I'm like, well, that sucked.
I mean, I'm kind of selfish in the fact that a vortex manipulated like one of the wrist straps. That
I always like the idea of those.
Be, it's nasty, dirty time travel, but it's, it's kind of selfish. It's just you.
Yeah.
But you then don't have to worry about leaving your box behind.
But then
again, getting separated
going in the
from
DeLorean.
Yeah, but it's a DeLorean.
You can fit a flux capacitator to another car if you really want to.
car.
Turn up in an Aston Martin on fire. That's going to look a hell of a lot cooler.
Do that then.
Although, frankly, you're going to need to figure out some better way of making tyres.
Yeah.
If you're going to continue to drive the car.
Since we can't fly them yet.
Well, that sucked.
You're gonna
but at least,
you're not
wherever
gonna...
you go, you still have transportation. Although, depending where you go, transportation could be questionable.
Yeah.
As they discovered in number 3.
Yes.
Having the car would be great. If you go far enough back in time, there are not going to be roads suitable for an Aston Martin.
No.
They will for my Aston Martin, thank you.
That's why you turn it into a train.
So where are the tracks?
Pretend.
You have to spoil everything.
I'll find out.
You know what? I'm going to take a hovercraft. Yeah, work that one out.
You have a hovercraft.
Yay! Thank you.
She's still looking for a plot hole.
No, hovercrafts you're allowed. I'm not going to guarantee you're not going to get shot as a wizard or something, but
Yeah, they're just going to be seeing me.
So many things.
Pulling some bits
let's just go for a personal little sort of.
Yeah, I quite like the idea of the easily hideable vortex.
Yeah.
No, I'm going on the flaming Aston Martin.
Even the TARDIS is conspicuous and.
I suppose if the chameleon circuit was working.
Yeah, that would help.
If you actually had it set with a functioning chameleon circuit, it would be quite.
I do
useful.
believe, actually, they said in one of the older episodes that he actually fixed the chameleon circuit, but he just likes it now.
Yeah, I believe. I think it's the Dr. Donner episode where she's like, you can fix it. And he just goes. No, that was the one where he's like, really? There was another one somewhere where it's like, you can fix it. It's like, but I like it.
Yeah, I think.
Why would I want to? The blue box.
I think it was either Peter Davison's or Sylvester McCoy, I think, mentioned that he'd already fixed it, but he quite liked it now, so he wasn't going to change it back. So he might have already re-broken it or something.
Yeah, just to make sure.
It's probably broken again.
Just to make sure.
And through how many regenerations he's probably forgotten.
Yeah, probably.
So you do lose something through a regeneration, I believe. So our writing challenge this week was, to recap, take a character from one time and drop them in the wrong time by whatever means we can. Or no means at all, actually, in my case.
Plonk them into a different time.
They're in the wrong time.
Yeah.
You don't need to explain. That was not part of the prompt.
So do you need more time to prepare, Liam, or do you
want to get it over with?
Get it over with.
I'll let you two go first, because I feel that because you have actually done them, the listeners will have a treat in the fact that they will have something to listen to, whereas I could maybe forget what I'm doing halfway through and we can just, edit it out.
Well, we've talked it up now. You've got to do it. It's got to be in.
I feel the pressure now. I like to think I do well under pressure, but unfortunately I don't. So,
yeah.
So, all right then. Who's going first out of you two?
I can go first if you like.
After you.
Okay, so this is, I've read a story from this character. It was the first story where this character ever popped up. It's Madison the cat, who almost got eaten by sewer-dwelling people. And this is his little venture into time travel. Madison prowled the streets of his beloved city, and he hated it. It was as though someone had tipped a very big bucket of horse manure and mud all over the cobbled ways, puddles of questionable determination dotted about, adding to the filth. Yet people walked and rode by as though nothing was untoward, as though there wasn't a stench permeating the air that, to Madison, was worse than the fumes of traffic that he normally inhaled. And the horses, more unpredictable and more dangerous than cars, he was sure, with their huge stomping feet and wild eyes. Madison didn't trust them. However, he wasn't too fond of the humans either. He had already learned his lesson when it came to trusting Victorian humans, and they were no better than the modern-day sewer dwellers. Shortly after his arrival to this time, a young lady in curiously-smelling rags caught his attention. Madison had approached warily, but without fear. The lady had petted him, and he purred. For a moment, the past seemed as pleasant as the future he had left behind, but not for long. "Here, little kitty, you'll make a nice meal. So plump," she admired, as her hands went to grab the scruff of his neck. Thankfully, the metal collar he wore, placed on him by the professor in his own time, and a swift manoeuvre from Madison made sure that he slipped through her fingers as he shot off through the vaguely familiar streets. What was it with people having a taste for cats? After that, he had noticed several ragged humans eyeing him up, and made sure to steer clear. He refused to end up as someone's meal. He paused to scratch at the metal collar around his neck, the whole reason he found himself in this time. He had arrived, unexpectedly, in the same building as he had occupied with the professor, only it was no longer a warm, summer-filled lab, and the current occupants were less than thrilled to have a cat spontaneously appear in their home. He was promptly scooped up and removed to the streets, and these streets were not Madison streets. Gone were the electric lamps that lit the roads, gone were the noisy cars and the crazy bikers. It was just mud and manure and smoke as far as the eye could see. Madison's home was a wreck, but his home was lost in time. Finding a safe perch on the top of a wall, Madison began cleaning his filthy fur. It tasted as bad as it smelt. Suddenly, with a zing and a light squeeze, the collar activated, and mid-lick, Madison found himself travelling in time. He stopped briefly, just long enough to see men in dresses and armour, marching about pretending to be ever so masculine. Madison snorted with amusement. Humans. Then he was whisked through time again, and again, and again. He saw people in war paint, people with horns on their heads, a field full of rabbits and snails, a flooded land, a fiery sun, a dead plain. He came to a halt at last, and before Madison stood a horrific reptilian beast. Its teeth were as big as Madison, its claws as hard as stone, and its eyes glinted with cunning. Hackles raised, Madison knew what to do, and so he did. Turning tail, he ran, the thundering footsteps of the creature rapidly gaining on him. But Madison was a survivor. He still had 7 lives left. He shot up a tree, far higher than any he had been in before. He briefly wondered whether he would ever get down again, but the snapping of teeth below encouraged him to keep climbing. Eventually, the jaws of death dwindled below him, and as long as Madison kept his claws jammed into the bark, the juddering created by the persistent lizard would not fool him. He was so focused on the creature below that Madison didn't notice the tightening of the collar and zing as he was once more thrown through time. He found himself, miraculously, on the lab bench of the professor. The grey old man looked up at Madison's appearance, and his face flooded with joy. Placing a console he had been fiddling with on the bench, the professor approached. "Schrödinger! Where did you go? I thought I had lost you forever!" the professor exclaimed in a heavily accented voice. Quickly getting his bearings, Madison only had one thought on his mind. Get rid of the collar. He clawed and pawed at it, desperately squeezing his head through the collar until it popped off with such force that it flung across the room and hit the wall with a clang. Madison wasn't going to hang about and wait for another experiment to be tested on him. He loved spending time with the professor, but he had had enough for today. Turning his back indignantly, Madison walked out onto the street strewn with the orange and brown of autumn leaves. This is the last bit I changed from before we had this, before we met up. It was when I had it changed from he left in the summer and he returned in autumn. I was like, whoops. That's why the professor's like, oh my god, you're back. Like, go away. I'm not being experimented on again. Just no.
That's cats do.
Yeah,
No.
that's cats do. A dinosaur tried eating it. No.
Yes. Right, I suppose it's me next.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right, I've done something quite different, in fact. It's technically fan fiction.
Mine was as well, technically.
Yes, but that's off your own story.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll get into that later.
Yes. So, Cassie was utterly lost in her book. It was easy. It was one of her favourites. Being in another time was even easier. Of course, when the story is over, one must necessarily return to your own time. Having just finished reading the happy resolution of Pride and Prejudice, Cassie surfaced back into her own living room and stretched out her back, and then almost dropped her book in shock. It seemed that when she had extracted herself from Jane Austen's world of the past, she had not come alone. There, standing in the middle of her living room, large as life and looking entirely discomposed, stood Miss Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy. Cassie looked down at the worn hardback in her hands. They looked just like the art on the front. How, what happened to, hello? Darcy looked like he wanted to say something, but was too busy not looking at Cassie. She looked down at herself and realised why. She was wearing only an oversized t-shirt and leggings, with her bare feet up on the sofa. For 1813, she might as well have been undressed. Lizzie Bennet then seemed to recover herself. "I'm sorry, but could you tell us how we come to be here, particularly since you appear indisposed?" Cassie couldn't help it. She still loved their phrasing. "I have no idea how you came to be here, and I am not indisposed. I am dressed." "Madam, you are most certainly not." Darcy was still not looking at her. "You are 200 years in the future. Fashion has changed," Cassie informed them. Darcy looked at her then. "You're not in your underwear?" "No." "Oh. I imagine that is a lot more practical than a gown," Elizabeth put in. "Having never worn a gown, I imagine it is, yes." "I'm sorry, but can we repeat what you said about 200 years having passed in the blink of an eye?" Darcy cut back in. "I can't explain how it happened, but I can assure you it's 2016. Cassie picked a newspaper off the coffee table and handed it to him. It was a few days old, but it would serve her purpose. Also, she handed the book to Lizzie Bennet and watched as she opened it and began to read. Darcy was slowly turning white. "Might I sit down?" he asked. "Certainly." Cassie directed him to an armchair. "Is this book about us?" Lizzie asked after a moment. My parents appear to be having a conversation about Netherfield being let in the opening chapter. It is, yes. Well, that is disconcerting. She handed the book back rather hurriedly. You're both famous characters, Cassie told them. Your story has been turned into films and... What is a film? Darcy interrupted bluntly. Technology has come a long way in 200 years, Cassie told them. A DVD of Pride and Prejudice was on the top of the stack. She may as well show them. A film is where they act out a story like a play, but it's recorded and we can watch it on screens. She picked up the remote and flicked the TV on, and set it to play at a random point of the film. It was the scene of the first ball and showed Darcy among the Bingleys and other partygoers. After initial expressions of surprise at the TV, the two of them began to watch the actors. It soon became apparent that they recognised the scene. Is that supposed to be me? Darcy asked, outraged. I would never behave so abominably rudely. Actually, Lizzie replied pointedly, and Cassie ducked her head to hide a smirk as Darcy reddened indignantly. This was going to be difficult, but certainly most entertaining. She couldn't wait to introduce them to jeans. Sometime later she had convinced them that they could not go outside dressed as they were. However, convincing them that the clothes she had given them were appropriate was proving tricky. If you can't cope with the sight of a skirt above the knee, you are not going to be able to deal with the rest of the 21st century. I do admit I would quite like to go back to the 19th, Darcy said, examining the clothes dubiously. He held up a pair of faded jeans. These are not befitting garments for a gentleman. Sorry, it's the best I can do, Cassie replied crossly. Vanity takes a very different form these days. So I see, he replied distastefully, and then went into the next room to try them on. Don't worry, he'll come round. For my part, I'm curious. Lizzie held up a pair of Cassie's jeans. I'm looking forward to trying this out. Running would be so much easier. Everything will be so much easier, Cassie assured her, and helped her out of her dress. That's about as far as I got, because I wasn't quite sure where to end it.
I like that.
I quite like the thought of dropping people from the past into the present to find out how they cope. And giving somebody the job of trying to explain.
I like it.
The Dalek voice. Explain!
Explain! Yes. So that's my offering of time travel. With no explanation of the time travel at all. Because fictional characters
didn't have to have an explanation, there was no need.
Two fictional characters from 200 years ago have just dropped into somebody's living room. Yeah, why not?
Right. So, Liam, are you going to ad-lib?
Yes. I may as well. So, yeah, I'm sort of moving someone through time. It's going to be difficult to explain. This is another one of these ideas I've come up with. It's a film idea, mostly. And it's going to start with a voiceover, which I'm going to ad-lib. And then I'm going to have to listen back and write it. Because when I come up with ideas, I just ad-lib them, I act them out. So, we hear a voice, just a voiceover, of the main character, who I haven't named yet. So, have you ever had one of those things where you go to sleep, and then you wake up, and it's like no time has passed at all? And you sort of curse yourself and you think, oh my god, that alarm, that felt like 5 minutes. And then sometimes you get it at work as well, where you're at work and you think, you know, oh my god, I must have been here 4 hours, but you've actually been there for 5 minutes. You know, you sort of put it down to yourself as, oh god, I must be having a long day. What if you were? What if someone had taken your time for some reason? What if they needed more time to find a cure for a dying child? Or what if they needed more time to catch a criminal? That's what people do. That's what I do. I borrow time from people who have lots of it. Mostly young people, because you don't want to risk taking the last moments of someone's life, because they're going to die and you can't repay the debt. That's something you don't want to do. So what I do is I take some time and then I give it back at an indeterminate point, but before you die. The problem with this is you have to be trained in it. If you're not trained in it, you could do the wrong thing. And certain people take these powers beyond what they should. We then cut to a point. September the 12th, 1919. A man is walking down a street. He's returned home from the army. He's been told he must go to a political party meeting. A German workers' political party meeting. He's walking down the street. He thinks to himself, yes, this is what I must do. I must make our country great again after the Great War. He has some radical ideas that he's going to bring up at this party meeting. He's walking down a dimly lit street. We then see two gentlemen dressed in modern day clothing. They begin to walk behind him before pulling him into an alleyway. As his muffled screams happen, they inject him with something. As he's injected, he begins to fall asleep. As he falls asleep, he starts going forward in time. As he's going forward in time, he begins to age. He starts to age rapidly. He goes forward 100 years. We're now in September the 12th, 2016, and a very grey old man is crawling towards the floor to a third man. As he looks up at the third man, he dies. The third man takes out an identification card. He looks upon the identification card in horror as the two other men come through. You guys are idiots. What the hell have you done? The camera pans down. On the card is Adolf Hitler. One of the men turns to him and says, I've just changed the world. Interesting.
That's a really cool idea.
Alarming.
It is.
I'm alarmed.
Yes. So it needs further developing, obviously, but it was an idea
really
I had.
cool.
I'd say I had it about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we mentioned time travel, I think I might bring it up then. And I tried to write it, but I ultimately ran out of time.
Well, you
doing
did very
other
well.
things. Yeah.
For our news story today, I'm handing over to Natalie,
Yes. Let me just open
who
up the
hopefully
story.
has the news story in front of her.
So, it's not really related to time in any way. It's just a random story that had the word beans in it, which is how I normally search for things.
Because why not?
Yeah, so the title of this is Can You Count Out 100 Beans, as that's my limit for breakfast? The strangest requests from hotel guests revealed.
Because why not?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
dear.
this is a Daily Mail one. So, you know.
Oh, great.
Yes. So, so you got, can you count out 100 beans, as that's my limit for breakfast? Please can you divert the marathon while I leave the city? Is haggis an animal?
We've had that. We had a tour guide who actually tried to convince all the, I think it was a bunch of Americans that were trying to convince them that they were actually little animals.
These are just some of the weirdest requests asked to Travelodge staff by customers over the last year.
Travelodge.
The UK hotel chain has revealed the most bizarre requests that some of its 17 million customers have made during 2015, from arranging to move the moon to asking what time the Northern Lights come on.
That one was vaguely reasonable, as in what time am I likely to... That could be construed as reasonable. Moving the moon, however.
Yes. Apparently, over the last 12 months, the staff have across the country have reported a significant rise in bizarre questions, specifically from business travellers. One guest at the London City Road branch asked a member of staff whether he could borrow their suit because he had burnt his trousers. Another in Bradford wanted a member of the team to act as his PA and attend a meeting with him.
Oh my god.
In Macclesfield Central, a customer asked if the hotel could be redesigned, suggesting that all the rooms be moved to the back of the hotel. And at King's Cross Central, a Harry Potter fan questioned the hotel manager as to what train they should get from King's Cross to Hogwarts.
Oh dear.
Across the capital, at London Park Royal, a customer asked, "Can I borrow your turban as I'm visiting the Neasden Temple?" Meanwhile...
Oh my god!
Meanwhile...
That is not allowed, surely.
Meanwhile, the hotel receptionist at Newcastle Gateshead Travelodge received a call asking for someone to pick up a woman's boss from the airport. She couldn't herself because she needed to finish her report. Can you arrange for the moon to look into my room as I want to propose to my girlfriend under the moonlight? Asked one man in Bristol Central Mitchell Lane.
Oh, he had to be local.
Yeah, that's why I went, oh no. And in Brighton, someone watching their weight requested 100 beads of breakfast because that was their limit.
That one,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people who are on weight loss.
I know.
That is what they do. That is genuinely what they do.
I can never be that committed.
So we got some of the weirdest requests here. So.
Oh really? There's more.
There's more. Can you babysit my family of gnomes while I go out to dinner tonight?
What?
Can I have a room close to the runway as I don't want to miss my plane? Checkout is at 12 p.m. Am I allowed out before or do I have to stay inside?
Oh my.
How do I get out of the front door?
Really?
Can you please write me a letter in Spanish? Does lava bread contain real lava?
Oh god.
Can someone get me my dinosaur off the roof?
I want to know what circumstances that one was said in.
Can you really turn the rain off?
Clearly somebody who's not British.
What's the best time to cross Snake Pass to avoid snakes?
What?
Glossop.
What?
Where can I find a stinking bishop? Can you ask the ferry company to stop lorries arriving on the freight ferry?
Why? Why would you ask that?
This is someone in Inverness. Is there a bridge to England or do I have to fly? Can you make the seagulls be quiet?
No.
That's just irritating. Oh god.
Oh dear.
Can you come to Anfield with me? I heard you can't walk alone to the stadium. Can you ask the emergency services to turn the siren volume down? Can you arrange for the changing of the guards to happen after lunch as I have an appointment in the morning?
I don't have words for these people.
What time does Big Ben go to sleep?
I don't have words for these people. I really don't.
Bless them.
Does the Angel of the North ever visit the South?
Well.
Can you fill my... Oh god, this has got to be a joke. Can you fill my bath with exactly 100 litres of Evian water at 38 degrees?
Well, it depends if they're pretentious, I think. Surely. That's probably the least confusing one of the lot.
That's not something you'd expect to hear at a travel lodge.
Can you arrange for us to have Christmas Day in July?
Yeah.
I'm sure that could be done.
Well, I picked the best of the best there. So.
How did they find this out? Did they just bring up Travelodge? Yeah, you any weirdos lately?
I think it's literally just people in Travelodge going, oh my god, we have to write this down.
There's probably like an internal thing at
Yeah.
Travelodge.
Just emails go right. Yeah, you're not gonna believe this.
Somebody asked me this today. It's just like this continually forwarded message.
That I've been asked.
It's like people wet themselves in Travelodge. That runway one. Oh my god.
Some of these are very Travelodge people things, and some of the like the Evian water is like, why are you not staying at like the Hilton or something?
They couldn't afford it. They wanted to feel fancy. The dinosaur one, I bet that was a drunken one.
Yeah, there's a few on there that make you go, I bet someone either did it as a joke or they were drunk or something.
The Moonlight one was quite funny.
Yeah.
That had to be a local. That had to be a stupid
I know, I was like,
local.
oh god.
I don't know. I'm kind of. There's a way that could be construed as somebody was misasking for, can you possibly get me a room where the moon, where it's like in the right
probably,
place?
but they said
But they
it wrong,
asked it in
very
the
wrong.
stupidest manner possible. You know, can you possibly book me a room where there's gonna, you know, it's in the right place for the moonlight? But
it's like, no, I don't think we can.
it's cloudy. It's not gonna work. Yeah, considering it's Bristol, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Are we ready for the 5-minute faff, or have we
I
done
think we just
giggling?
killed ourselves, haven't we?
Right. So for the faff today, we're taking a word from H.G. Wells' Time Machine because stay on topic. So the word is
explorations.
Explorations.
It's the first word that caught my eye.
Fair enough.
Well.
So, 5 minutes starts now.
So where have we explored?
I went to New Zealand. I went across New Zealand.
Well, on your
by
own.
myself, yes.
You built some.
Yeah. I
Great
did
fun.
that to Texas.
So. I went all the way to Costa Rica, but not on my own. Costa Rica was the last one, though.
Yeah, you're also slightly more adventure-y.
Yeah.
The fact that you were like wandering around the jungle, I was just wandering across a country by myself.
Yeah, I was doing
you were
wild
across
adventure.
Middle Earth, technically.
Yeah.
Yes. I went to Edoras. That did feel like the middle
with
of Middle
awesome
Earth,
views,
nowhere. Fantastic.
With mountains
Oh,
and
I arrived at the Queenstown hotel, and it was just like, you've been upgraded to a Lakeview Superior room. I'm assuming you don't mind. No, you'd be correct. Yeah, I don't mind. I sort of walk out, and there's like this lawn sloping away from my window, and then this
really
blue lake
that
and
picture.
snow-capped mountains. The Remarkables
It's
mountain range is just like,
amazing.
I'm good staying here. And that was, fortunately, for the entire time I was in New Zealand, that was the longest hotel stay I had, so I was there for 4 nights.
You had breathtaking views. I had loads of creatures everywhere.
I like the mountains.
I had the
I like
wildlife.
the mountains.
I like mountains too.
I have my friend's spare bedroom. But, you know, it's Texas. They're a lovely family, but...
And what about the country? Not just the room.
It was,
That's assuming once you got outside, there was, Texas.
Yeah, Texas, everything bigger in Texas. I think one of the best places we went was the Natural Bridge Caverns, which is a bit like Wookiee Hole, but, you know, better. And they had 100-foot stalagmite, the one coming up from the ground, 100 foot, and it was called Hall of the Mountain King, and I got photos of it. It was absolutely amazing. These things grow 1 cubic inch every 100 years. Every 100 years. So if it's 100 foot, it's been there for some time.
Oh my god!
We also went to a museum. We went to a lot of museums. We went to a museum in Dallas.
Yeah.
Where we found out that Corey, my friend, had an arrest warrant still out for her for unpaid parking tickets. Corey.
Oh dear.
We went around this museum, and they had an exhibit of all these old musical items. So they had things like Buddy Holly's concert outfits, Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitars, and I was taking pictures of them, unaware that I wasn't actually allowed to, until we got to the end. We were going to take one more photo of the car that was in there. And a gentleman come up to me, he said, "I'm really sorry, sir, you can't take any photos in here." And at that point, I turned my camera off because I didn't want him to see the 100 or so pictures I'd just taken. And gone, "That's okay, sir, I'll put that away now." And then we left pretty promptly.
Wow.
I imagine.
Yeah.
You're having a vaguely criminal day that day, clearly.
We were. But then, after that, we went to a rodeo, which, if you
Nice.
ever get a chance to go to
I've seen it on TV.
they are hysterically
They
funny.
are.
I think the funniest one was they got some toddlers,
Yeah.
and instead of bucking broncos, because that is just savage, they had them holding on to sheep. So these sheep would charge out. These kids are going. Bless them. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I had a slightly tamer version when I was in New Zealand. We went to this. They have this agrodome in Rotorua, which is basically agriculture show, which I'm sort of going to. It's part of this whole day's tour, and I'm from Somerset. I've kind of seen all of this before. And they were like, there was only like our tour group there, which was about 10, 15 of us. So they got audience participation. It's like, come on. I was like, I don't need to do. I've done this before, and it's like, okay, you haven't come up. Come up. So, all right, fine, I'll come up. And so I finally got called up, and the one where we got like competition of who has the lamb that drinks the milk fastest. Yeah. So I was like, yay! Of all the things I got to do, I got to feed the lamb.
It's like, yay! I like doing this. I like this. We've all done that at some point.
Just these lambs that come charging out like there's bottles of milk over here.
I know how to handle this. Come on, the lambs.
I got a selfie with like the sheep with like the biggest horns I could find that they had on the show, which was the same day you messaged me kind of going something about black sheep. I'm sure it was. It's like I just messaged you back kind of going too late.
That was a weird film. It was brilliant though.
I always remember
that was on the DVD rack at the B&B I was on in Cornwall when I was down there because that supplies. It was on there for some reason. I was like, do I watch it? Or do I not bother?
I remember when we went to Edinburgh and we were in the hostel we were staying.
It was like entry questions. They wouldn't let you in until you'd answered these random questions.
And it was just fun.
Like, what's the best film you've seen, or what's the worst film you've ever seen?
What's the worst film you've seen? And I was like, I don't really watch, but oh no, Black Sheep.
I could not think of one for the life of me.
There is another one about cows.
That's the time.
Yeah. Right.
So, we'll stop and I'll find out how many we have. Right, so after a quick count, we managed to get from exploration to the bizarre questions about the worst films we've ever watched, getting into a hostel, via 18 subjects. So, could be worse.
Doing as well as we normally do. But.
No, I think we all got onto subjects that we liked and sort of stuck on them.
Yes.
Possibly mostly me, in this particular case.
Well, why wouldn't you?
I went on an adventure to New Zealand. I'm going to talk about it.
Exactly.
So, well, after that, we are going to go for our pod challenge, where one of us at least might be soon wishing we had a time machine of our own to get out of this. But I'm looking at Liam, who is now, what?
3, 2, 1, up. Technically, if you're not counting the earthworm, that as the secondary one, then it's
the
3, 1, 1.
earthworm was revolting, though.
Yeah.
You would have reacted badly too. For a moment, I did think it was vomit.
Even my one was kind of an anticlimax as well. So I'm at some point
you're gonna get horrible.
Please get a horrible one.
However, I picked them this time.
Yes, Liam has nobody to blame but himself if he gets a bad one because he put the beans in the pots.
Yeah. Now this time we've gone for rotten egg, sausage, and tutti frutti.
If I remember right, sausage ain't that great, but okay.
Yeah.
So here we go. Thank you for stirring them up, Kirsty. Right.
Pop them and shot them.
Oh dear.
Ready?
Pop them.
Shot them.
Tutti frutti!
Sausage.
Oh dear. Okay.
Mine tastes like tutti frutti.
Well, that is disappointing.
I think you've picked a lemon one, not a rotten egg.
Damn it.
I think it's lemon, not rotten egg.
We do a round 2? Or are we just going to accept Natalie?
I don't like the sausage one, it's horrible.
That's alright, I'll take a victory there.
Yeah.
Mine's 2.
I don't want to do another one anyway, because if I get another nasty one...
We'll count that one as Natalie got the bad one.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't the bad one you intended.
Yep, that's okay.
I did say sausage wasn't a good one.
This is why having a secondary bad one is a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. So,
rotten
egg and lemon look decidedly similar.
This is why the beans are like that.
Yeah, my bad.
They're designed so that you can...
Technically, Natalie's bad. She got the sausage. There you go, Scott Mills. Have that.
She swallowed it. Sorry, she was having a drink.
They had to swallow that.
But as soon as I bit into it, I was like, oh, that's tutti frutti, I'm safe.
You can tell.
I bit into it and went, that's not anything nasty. Oh, no, it's that one.
Not the most vile that we have, but not nice either. So after that, we have done for today. If you're still here, please like, share and subscribe. I have been Kirsty.
I'm Liam.
And I'm Natalie.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
I say your foot got very hairy.
No, my foot was being stood on by something very hairy.
Burr. Hi, Burr.
Hi, Bear.
Is the bear recording now?
Yes.
Have you
Hi.
anything to say this time, Mr. Bear?
Yes. I like time travel very much.
What do you say in your defence, Mr. Bear?
What I do?
You tell me, Mr. Bear.
It wasn't me. Whatever it was, it wasn't me.
I like how Mr. Bear has suddenly become Fortescue again.
Fortescue is the default.
Look,
I think
that is a
does.
rotund teddy bear.
Well, yes,
Look
but
at
look at his head compared to the rest
No,
of
he
him.
isn't.
He's a dented
Look,
teddy bear.
that's
probably not got a big
tummy
arm.
tuck at the best.
Yeah, this is the thing that my granddad. Whenever Blackbird comes on, I always think of the rhyme my granddad taught me, which is little birdie passing by drops a message from the sky. Angry farmer wiping eye says thank goodness cows don't fly.
We can see.
That's
I
actually
can
quite
see
blinding.
clearly now. The light is on. That's not how the song goes, but hey ho.
It is now.
It's appropriate though.
Yeah.
Okay, shall I?
Let's actually start again.
Let's actually start again.